Let's dive right into it because this might be important. Number 11, you constantly digest yourself. Your stomach acid is strong enough to dissolve razor blades, which is helpful if you've eaten a razor blade, less helpful if you're just trying to stay alive. To protect itself from itself, your stomach grows a thick mucus lining and then digests it every few days. Because yes, the acid is that strong. So yes, your body is constantly eating itself, like a slow squishy or a burrus. And this process is normal. It's not a malfunction. It's the design. But your body doesn't just eat itself on the outside. It does it at the cellular level too. There's a process called autophagy, which literally means self-eating. When your cells get stressed, damaged, hungry, or just bored, they start breaking down their own parts for fuel. Mitochondria, proteins, entire cell structures, all recycled into tiny snacks. It's how your body stays clean, efficient, and terrifying. Some health gurus even try to trigger autophagy through fasting because cellular cannibalism makes the body run efficiently. Some types of autophagy can cause your brain to eat itself, but we'll get into that a little later. In short, your body is part recycling plant, part cannibal. Number 10, there are mites living on your face. There are tiny creatures living on your face right now. They're called Demodex mites, and they're literally living on your face. They eat your dead skin, they live in your pores, and they come out at night to mate on your face. You can't see them, but they're there, and almost everyone has them, even babies. Scientists estimate that by age 60, you have about 2 mites per eyelash, but they're generally helpful, quietly cleaning up dead skin and oil like microscopic janitors. But in high numbers, they've been linked to skin problems like rosacea and blepharitis. And the worst part, they don't poop. They just store waste in their bodies until they die and then explode inside your face. So next time your skin feels a little off in the morning, it might be because a microscopic bug just released its insides into your pores. Sleep tight. Number 9, dead skin makes up most of the dust in your home. The dead skin on your face that mites don't eat has to go somewhere, and most of the time it just falls off you to the ground. But this means most of the dust in your home used to be you. Roughly 50 to 70% of household dust is made of dead skin flakes, not just yours, but from anyone who's ever lived there, including previous tenants and their pets. Your body sheds around 30,000 to 40,000 skin cells every minute. That adds up to roughly 9 pounds of skin per year, per person. Most of these skin cells fall off without you noticing. They get caught in fabric, trapped in carpet fibers, and stirred into the air every time you move. So when a beam of sunlight cuts across the room and you see all those shimmering specks floating in the air, that's probably skin. Mostly yours, but some of it not. Number 8, your belly button is a rainforest. Not a visible one, but a microbial one. Inside that tiny dent lives an entire ecosystem. Bacteria, fungi, yeast, a microbial jungle you've been growing since birth. In one 2011 study, researchers swabbed 60 belly buttons. They found over 2,300 species of bacteria, and more than 1,500 of them were completely new to science. Some were extremophiles, organisms that usually live in places like deep-sea vents or desert soils. Others were more familiar, like the bacteria found in your armpits or behind your ears, which means it's not just weird, it's wildly diverse. Your belly button is a microbial melting pot. Scientists have even nicknamed it the Forgotten Jungle, because it turns out it's the perfect place for microbes to thrive. It's dark, it stays moist, it traps skin flakes providing abundant food, and most people forget to wash it. So yeah, your navel isn't just a scar, it's a thriving microbial metropolis. And who knows? You might be housing bacteria that haven't even been discovered yet. So next time you're in the shower, maybe give it a little rinse. Or don't, because you might be wiping out a civilization. Number 6, Toxoplasma gondii. There's a parasite that might be living in your brain right now. It's called Toxoplasma gondii, and it's not just gross, it's manipulative. It starts in the soil, then it infects an innocent rat. Once inside, it sneaks into the brain, particularly the amygdala, the part wired for fear. There, it performs its own version of brain surgery. The rat's instincts change. Instead of running from cats like any sensible rodent, it starts to seek them out, which, if you're the cat, is basically the equivalent of DoorDash but with more fur. Experiments show that infected rats not only lose their fear of cat urine, they're actually attracted to it, which is great news for the parasite because Toxoplasma gondii can only reproduce inside a cat. So the rat gets eaten, the parasite reaches its destination, the cat's intestine. There, it cranks out millions of microscopic egg-like structures called oocysts. These exit through the cat's digestive tract. After a few days in the open, it becomes infectious. A new host touches contaminated soil and the cycle starts again. Now, you might be thinking, gross, but I'm not a rat. Unfortunately, Toxoplasma gondii doesn't care. Humans can become hosts too by cleaning a litter box, eating undercooked meat, or drinking contaminated water. According to one study, nearly 1/3 of the global population is infected. It's especially common in countries where undercooked meat is popular, like France. And in regions with lots of stray cats like Turkey or Central America, even in the US, infection rates hover around 13%. We used to think the parasite was harmless to humans, but new studies suggest otherwise. Infections have been linked to slower reaction times, increased aggression, risk-taking behavior, and changes in dopamine. There's even some early evidence it might influence testosterone levels and personality traits. So if you've been feeling reckless, impulsive, or a little too into gambling lately, maybe it's not you. Maybe it's something the cat dragged in. Number 5, you can smell fear. Your nose might know how someone's feeling, because humans can literally smell fear and we're not even aware it's happening. When you're scared, your body releases a unique cocktail of chemicals in your sweat. It's triggered by the fight or flight response, and it's different from the sweat you get from exercise or heat. In one experiment, scientists collected sweat from people who had just skydived for the first time. Then they exposed other people to that sweat without telling them what it was. The result? Brain scans showed increased activity in areas associated with fear and emotional processing. And the participants? They reported feeling more anxious, without knowing why. In other words, fear might be contagious, through your nose. Why? Probably because it helped our ancestors survive. If one person sensed danger, the rest of the group needed to know. Smell is one of the quickest, most primal ways to do that. It's like nature's group text, but smellier. And it's not just fear. Humans can also subconsciously detect chemical signals for disgust, happiness, and anxiety. Your brain picks it up before you do, like emotional Wi-Fi. So the next time you walk into a room and feel uneasy for no reason, it might not be your imagination. It might be someone else's anxiety leaking out through their armpits. Number 4, your brain can hallucinate voices just from silence. You don't need to lick toads to hear voices. Sometimes your brain will do it all by itself. All it takes is silence. In one study, researchers played a white noise track to participants. No words, no messages, just static. But some participants insisted they heard someone speaking. But it gets weirder. When told that there might be voices hidden in the static, more people began to hear them. Your brain is constantly trying to find patterns, and will sometimes convince you there is a meaningful pattern when there is none at all. This is called pareidolia, the tendency to find meaningful patterns in meaningless input. It's why you see faces in random objects, and why some people hear ghostly whispers in a fan. Audio-based pareidolia can even be triggered by stress and anxiety. Ever had a nasty fight with someone, then heard their voice later when you were totally alone? That's pareidolia too, fueled by guilt, stress, or a brain that refuses to let things go. It also happens to inexperienced campers. The dead silence inside a tent can be unsettling. Then your brain decides the Blair Witch is creeping just outside. Basically, your brain is remixing your anxiety into the soundtrack of life. So the next time you hear something strange in the silence, maybe it's not your imagination. Maybe it's your brain glitching out under pressure. Number 3, you leak brain fluid when you cry. Tears aren't just emotional, they're also neurological. That's because a small amount of cerebrospinal fluid, the stuff that cushions your brain and spinal cord, can drain into your tear ducts. So yes, when you cry, a little bit of your actual brain juice leaks out of your face. It's not dangerous unless you're crying a lot and all the time. In which case, there are bigger issues to worry about, but don't cry about it because that will make things worse. Researchers discovered this when studying patients with excess cerebrospinal fluid pressure. They found trace amounts of it in their tears, which suggests that brain fluid might be leaking through the nasolacrimal ducts, the little canals that connect your eyes to your sinuses. So yes, when you cry, you're not just expressing emotion or reacting to an extra hot burrito. You're quietly leaking fluid from your central nervous system. It's fine, totally normal. Just a little brain juice, slowly dripping out of your eyes. Number 2, your brain can eat itself under stress. When you're under extreme stress, your brain doesn't just suffer, it starts to consume itself. Earlier, we mentioned autophagy, the process where cells eat themselves to stay efficient. But in the brain, it can take a darker turn. High levels of cortisol, your primary stress hormone, can shrink neurons, damage connections, and in some cases, accelerate cell death. It's like your brain decides that survival means sacrificing parts of itself just to keep going. In animal studies, chronic stress caused loss of brain mass, especially in areas tied to memory and emotional regulation. That's why long-term stress doesn't just feel awful, it can change how your brain works. So yes, your brain can literally eat itself. It sounds horrifying, And it is. But there's a reason it exists. In survival situations like famine, injury, or blunt force trauma, the body has to conserve energy. Autophagy lets the brain recycle itself just enough to stay alive a little longer, even if that means cannibalizing brain tissue. For early humans, that might have been the difference between making it through winter or not making it at all. Today, your brain is still running software built for starvation and predators. But instead of fighting wolves, you're fighting inboxes and overly chatty acquaintances. Number 1. Mothers carry the cells of their baby for life. Pregnancy changes a lot of things: organs, hormones, your ability to sneeze without consequences. But here's one most people don't know. Mothers carry the cells of their baby for the rest of their life. It's called microchimerism, when fetal cells cross the placenta and take up residence in the mother's body. They can be found in her heart, her lungs, even her brain. Decades after giving birth, scientists have discovered male DNA in the brains of women who once carried sons, even years after the child was gone. And these cells don't just sit there. They may play a role in healing, inflammation, and immune function. In some cases, fetal cells have even been found clustered around damaged tissue, suggesting they may help the body repair itself years after birth. While that sounds like something out of a Hallmark movie, there's actual evidence to back it up. Studies suggest that mothers may heal faster, have stronger immune systems, better organ transplant outcomes, and even live longer than non-mothers. Though scientists say we still have more to learn about microchimerism. But one thing is clear: a child's cells stay with their mother for life, quietly integrated, long after the baby is born, forever, and probably for the better. That's all for today. I'll be making more videos like this, so feel free to subscribe. And while you're here, the algorithm thinks you'll like that video right over there, because who knows, this might be important.